अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोन्मयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ते यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजय आविश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter number 8. We are in text number 27. So this is the story of King Bharat and how he became attached to the deer, and because of that he stopped all his devotional service. And then we read how he was feeling separation from the deer when the deer had left. And of course he came back and he was then living happily, and finally the time came for him to die. So now it is described here how he left his body thinking of the deer. तदानीमपि पार्श्ववर्तिनम् आत्मजमिव अनुशोचन्तम् अभिवीक्षमाणो मृग एव अभिनिवेशितमनः विसृज्य लोकमिमं सह मृगेण कलेवरं मृतम् अनुनेतुं मृतजन्मानुस्मृतिः इतरवन् मृगशरीरम् अवाप. So he said that when he was dying, the deer was there sitting next to him, and the deer was feeling sad looking at him dying. This deer also understood that he is dying, just like a son sitting near to the father when the father is dying. So that's how the deer was feeling, and because of attachment the king was also thinking of the deer. He was thinking how he will live without me. So this is how many parents think, that the children cannot live without them. Although they themselves are living without their parents. So they don't think that I live without my father, so why my son cannot live. So the parents want to make arrangement for the children so that they don't have to make money. I make all the money for them and make all the arrangement, although the father may not have made for him. So this is the tendency. So the king was also thinking how he will live without me. I was bringing grass for him, I was protecting him from animals, tigers, lions, and I was playing with him, then he will have no one to play with. So thinking like this, what will happen to him? He died. And because he died thinking of deer, so he became a deer in the next life. Because whatever is your thought at the time of death, that brings you the next body. It's like if you leave this room, then where do you go? Whatever you are thinking at that time. If you think of going to your room, you go to your room. If you think of going to bazaar, you go to bazaar. So whatever is your thought when you leave the room, that's where you live. That's where you end up. So in the same way, whatever you are thinking at the time of death, if at all you can think, your consciousness, your awareness, then that's where you end up. It's the principle. And what do you think at the time of death? Whatever you are attached to. That's very natural. Because whenever we are in a difficult situation, we are sick, then we think of our attachments naturally. It happens naturally. So this also happened to him because all his life, at least the last part, maybe last few years, he was only thinking of the deer. And thus he could not think of anything else at the time of death, especially the deer is sitting right next to him, looking at him very cutely. So king ended up becoming a deer. So some people may think what is wrong with that. Many times in the West people think they become a dog, so what is wrong with it? So when you say you can become a dog, you are attached to a dog, then what is wrong with that? So this means they already want to be like that. This is their consciousness. Obviously if you don't feel bad by becoming a dog, means you are already like a dog. You are already at that state. So this is when we do not know the importance of human life. And if we are already living like an animal in the human body, then obviously we don't mind becoming an animal. It makes no difference. It's actually more convenient to live an animal in an animal body than to live like an animal in a human body. That's unnatural. But it troubles you. So they naturally become an animal and they don't mind it. But in case of Bharat it was not so, because he was a learned person, he knew the philosophy, he had practiced it. It is somehow that he became attached to the deer. So when he became a deer, he did not forget his past life. It was the extraordinary thing which happened. Usually when we die and we take another birth, we don't remember anything from the past, which is in a way very good. Because if we remember our past life, maybe we'll be sad thinking of so many things which happened in our past life. Thinking of our past relatives, where they are, or if they may be still living and don't recognize you, and don't care for you even if they recognize, because they will have another relatives. So it is better that we forget all that. If we have to remember everything from the past life, even one life, it will be quite troublesome. It will be a big cause of anxiety and maybe feel distressed. So it is good that we forget it. Unless you remember something good you have done and now you are not able to do that, as in case of Bharat Maharaj, then that is good, because then you hanker for that. And that's what was said in the previous commentary by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that just to increase the eagerness of the king, this was arranged by the Lord. So now when he is in the deer body, he remembers his past life, and now he realizes. When you are making a mistake, you don't realize it. When you have made it, and you don't get what you are expecting, then you realize that I made a mistake. And if you are intelligent, you don't repeat it. You learn from it. So now in the deer body, he is thinking that what has happened. So imagine if you remember your human life and you become an animal, how do you feel? Quite terrible. And you cannot talk, you have to walk on 4 legs, you cannot eat with your fork and spoon anymore, you just use your mouth and can put on cloth, no tilak. So all these things you cannot do, no music, no sitar, and no dancing too. See, human body can do so many things which animals cannot do. So animals cannot laugh, they can cry, and they cannot laugh. Dog can cry, dog doesn't laugh. Cow can also cry, cow does not laugh. So human life is very superior. And if we become an animal and remember the human life, then it is quite terrible. Better we don't remember. That's what I said, that it's better that we don't remember what happened in the past, otherwise who knows how we feel. So in this particular case he remembered. He says that Mrigena Kalevaram Mritam Anuna Mrita Janma Anusmriti. He says that his body died, but not the memory. So memory was carried over. And Itarvan Mrig Shariram Avat. And he is now in the body of a deer, remembering. So Sri Vishnu Chakravarti comments, Ithartha iti. Seems to be using some word which is not there in the original. Bhagavad Ichchamayam prarabdham yadi na syat iti artha hridaya vijata swaputra. So he says that doesn't seem to match here. So he says that otherwise, if this has not happened, this would not be considered as prarabdha by the will of the Lord, because he is remembering his past life. So that says, that shows that this was an arrangement because of Lord's will. Okay, he's basically combining these two things together. यद्वा मृगदारक एव आभासो यस्य तथा भूतेन स्वारब्ध कर्मणा इति प्रारब्ध कर्माभासेन. So this deer was just like his prarabdha karma. यथा जीवन मुक्ता नाम अभिमान अभावे अपि अभिमान आभास तथैव जातरति भक्ता नाम prarabdha अपि prarabdha. So just as the Jivan Muktas, those who are become liberated but have not attained the ultimate liberation, they are free from ego, but still they act in the material world. And to act you need ego, because you cannot perform any action without ego. So how is it possible that somebody can be a liberated person and have ego? So, because as long as your ego here means the sense of doership, as long as you have the sense of doership, that I am the doer, then you will get the result of your action. And that is the cause of bondage. So there are only two ways to get rid of this. One is that you give up your ego, that you are not the doer. Another is that you have your ego, that you are servant of God and you act for God. So one is the path of Jnana Yoga, other is path of Bhakti Yoga, and these are the only two processes. So when somebody follows the path of Jnana Marga and does not have the ego of doership, and yet they still live in the material world, so then they have a semblance of ego. It is not real, but just to exist and function in the material world. So in the same way he said that because he is a devotee, Bharat, and he had attained the platform of Rati, so there is no question of him having prarabdha karma. Because in the path of bhakti, as soon as you begin, your karma is destroyed. That is one of the characteristics of bhakti, that it is shubhada, kleshabhini. So it removes all your kleshabhini, shubhada. First thing it does is that it removes all your kleshas, which are of 5 types: avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, panch klesha. So the basic one is avidya, ignorance, that is removed. And then other things come. So there is no karma for devotees. Then how can there be prarabdha karma? So he says that it is actually not prarabdha karma, but it is an abhas, just looks like that, because this was arranged by God. अथवा मृगधारकाभासेन निकृष्ट मृगधारकेन विभ्रंसिते कीदृशेन शोभनम आरब्धम कर्म यस्य तेन तस्य मृगधारकस्य सुख प्रारब्धवशादेव भरतस्तं पालयास. Or another meaning is that it is the mृगधारकाभासा, or this lowly deer, who made him fall down, because it was the prarabdha karma of the deer. The deer had the prarabdha karma, good karma, that he will be protected by Bharat. So he got so much love and affection from Bharat. So Bharat must have some debt to pay to him. Or even if he has no debt to pay, because he is free from karma, it is the deer who had a good karma. That could be another one. इत्यर्था यदि मृगस्य सुख प्रारब्धम न स्यात् तदा तस्यापि तत्पिपालेशा न स्यात्. Says that if he did not have the good karma, then the king would also not have the desire to protect. So many people keep dogs and take care of them very nicely. This is dog's good karma. Because if they don't have good karma, then they will be like Indian street dogs. So these dogs don't have good karma. And those dogs in the West have very good karma. But they live like royal babies, taken care of their food, bath and dressed nicely. They have dog park. So this is their good karma. Must have done something good in the past to enjoy like that. No worries. The master is worried about them. Master has to work. The dog sits in the house. Master has to pay the taxes. The dog has no problem. So now recently, just yesterday I was reading that in America the dogs, because they are so well fed, they are becoming obese. So now they have machines to exercise dogs. Yeah, that's for a photo. The dog is sitting, just like they have for human beings. You go to the gym and you reduce your body weight. So now they have for dogs. Because sometimes I see these dogs are really fat. Because they're eating very rich food and there's nothing to do. So they're getting the same problem as human beings. So now they have dog gyms. Not only dog parks. And they have something called doga. Doga is the yoga for the dog. Doga. Not yoga, doga. Yoga, doga yoga. Dog yoga is called doga.
Who's training teacher is a dog. The training teacher is a dog. The training teacher is a dog.
No. The exercises for yoga exercises for dog, and then it's called doga.
But who's conducting this?
Teacher.
A man, human being.
Of course.
It's supposed to be big rablado.
No, they both do together. Now you do exercise, the master and the dog together do yoga. That is called doga. So you're not doing it alone. The dog also does it. So there is a whole dog culture. Dog food, dog cloth, dog park, dog gym, doga.
Dog barber, in German they are
Dog barber,
hairdresser.
yeah, dog cemeteries,
Yeah.
dog priests, and dog dies. And you call a dog priest to do the ceremony. So that's why he says that this deer must have some good karma. And that's why Bharat became attached to him. So what about Bharat himself? It's alright, the dog had good karma. So he says, Bharatasya vibhranshastu yatha dhano labdha dhane vinashte tachinteya nibhrito naveda. Says that in case of Bharat, he was just like a person who first gets money and then he loses it. There is a person who has no money. He is living peacefully. Same person gets money and then he loses it. He becomes disturbed. He was alright when he didn't have it. But when he got it and lost it, then he's so worried. So he says that Bharat's situation was like that. Because he had the wealth of devotion and then he stopped. So that's how he says that he fell down. Tachintya anyad nibhrino niveda. So he is talking about Bharat's situation in the next life, in the deer body. And now when he became a deer, he was like as if he has lost his wealth. And therefore he was just lamenting like anything. Tanchintya nanmit nibhritaveda. He didn't know anything else now. He said, what did I do? So Mrig Janmani, Brahman Janmani cha Bhakti Utkantha Vardhanartho Bhagavata eva nirmita. So he says that this was created by God himself so that he could become very eager for devotion. So both in the life of deer and then he will be born again as a human being in the third birth. So first he was human, then deer, and then the third again human. So in that life he will read in the next chapter how he remained absolutely aloof from everyone because he remembered his past two lives. And now he did not want to mess around with anybody. So he says that he was completely absorbed in devotion. In this way, he did not want to become attached to anything. So he says, Tatrapi hava atmano mrigatva karanam bhagavad aradhan samiha anubhavena anusmritya brisam anutapyamana aha. So now in the deer body, where he remembered why he has become deer. And this is because of the strength of devotion he has performed to the Lord. So by the dint of his devotion to God, he was able to remember. So there are some yogis, some great people who can remember their past life. It is said that Buddha remembered his 100 lives. There are famous Jataka stories where he relates how he once was an elephant. There is one story I read that he was an elephant in the forest, and then there was forest fire, and when the rabbit came and took shelter of him and he protected him under his legs. His body was burning but he kept him safe. So he remembered he was also animal in some lives. But everything came to his memory. So there are mentions such of Jagishabhya was another yogi who remembered his lives for one kalpa, one day of Brahma. That many births he remembered. So in the Upanishads there is also a story of Vamadeva. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Tanyam Veda Sarvani Naptam Virtha Parantapa Bhavani Me Yatitani Janmani Tavchavani. He says, Arjuna, I and you have taken many births. But you don't remember, I remember. So when he appeared, he also told Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva and Devaki, how they were Sutpa and Krishna in the past life, and before that they were Kashyapa and Aditi. And now they were Vasudeva and Devaki, so Krishna was remembering their past lives. So it says that Bhagavad Aradhan Samihimana, by the power of the Lord's devotion, he remembered, and therefore Bhrisham Anutapyamana, he was very much lamenting after remembering, what did I do? Atmanam aviganayatah atmachintam akurvatah akho bilam ahirivatam bharatam kalo mrityuram shochantam drigam lokadeham drigena sahitam vishnujivam sarelam avata. So he says that he's talking about his death, he died and became dear. Kalevaram mritam anunamritam vinashta Purujanma anusmriti yasya saitarvaditara prakrita karmi tadya. So he remembered his past life. Bhartastu karmatita ityataiva tasya prarabdha bhava praksamyatata. So that Bharat was free from karma and therefore it was just by the will of the Lord. So he says, Aho kashtam bhrashtoham atvatam anupathad yad vimuktam samasta sangasya vivikta punyaranya saranya se atmavata atmanu sarvesham atmanam bhagavati vasudeve tadanu shravanam manana sankirtanaradhananu smarana bhiyoga asunya sakalayamena kalena samadeshitam samahitam pratsvena manastattu punarmam abudasya aran mrigam mrigasutam anuparisvata. So now he is remembering, he says, alas, what a miserable situation I am in. So, yes. He says, I have fallen down from the path of devotees. Atmatam pathad yad vimuktam samasta sangasya. And then he says, look at what was my situation. He says, I was completely free from any attachment. Because he had given up everything. He had so much. He was ruling over whole India and he left. Vivikt punyaranya saranasya. And I took shelter of solitary place in the forest. And I was living alone. And atmavata, and I was jitendriya, I was controlling my senses. He was highly elevated devotee. And atmani sarvasham atmanam bhagavati vasudeva. And the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, I was fully absorbed in Him. Samahitam kartsnena manastu. My mind was totally fixed. And every day I listened His name, I meditated, I did kirtan, worship, and smaran, remembering. Abhiyogena ashunya samka. He said there was absolutely no time which I did not utilize for devotion to Krishna. So all the time, either he chanted the name or he listened to the name or meditated on the Lord's form, His pastimes. All his time was going like this. He says, Asunya Sakalayamina. There was no gap. Because there was nothing else that he wanted to do. Everything else he had already done and he lost interest in it. So this is how a devotee should be. So, kalena samaveshitam samahitam katsmina. He says, my mind was absolutely fully absorbed. Punar mama abudhasya aran mrigsutamana. But then, how is that I became attached to this ear and I fell down? So he says, this is very terrible, this is miserable. So this is how he is lamenting. So Atmavato Dhirasya, he was following the path of devotees. Atmanam Jivanam Atmani Paramatmani. His mind was fixed on the self, Supreme Self. Tadanu Shravanadinam Abhiyogo Vigrahanam. And how he was passing his time was by hearing, chanting, remembering. Tena Samahitam Nischalam Yanmanas Tatsusravaya. So even a mind who was so concentrated and absorbed, it fell off. So this is not possible by prarabdha karma. Because karma cannot overpower bhakti movement. So that's why the commentator explained that it was Lord's arrangement that it happened like this. Iti evam nigudha nirvedo Visrijya mrigim mataram Punar Bhagavat Kshetram Upsamashilam Munigana Daitam Shalagramam Pulastapulhashramam Kalanjarat Pratyajanam. So he was born on some mountain called Kalanjara somewhere. Not mentioned yet. But because he remembered his past life and he was not interested in anything, so he lamented, but he kept his lamentation hidden inside. And then he left his mother immediately. He didn't want now that I remain with mother and become attached to her. And then I will never get out of it. Because in whichever species of life one goes, one becomes attached to that. And there is a story that Indra once became a pig, and then he didn't want to give up the pig body. He was very happy. Indian pig. In another story, I read that there was a king, and somehow he came to know that in the next life he is going to become a pig.
A king?
Yeah. Because he must have done something wrong. So he told his son that, my dear son, just remember that next life I am going to become a pig. And he said that I will be having a particular spot on my head. So if you ever spot me, just kill me immediately so that I am released from the pig body. Don't be merciful. So the king, after a few years, he died and he became a pig. And one day the son, he was going somewhere and he saw that particular pig. So he immediately took out his sword to kill him. And this pig, he remembered his past life. And he's saying, no, don't do that. I have my children. What will happen to them? So this is attachment. So he did not want this, that he becomes attached to the mother. Because even animal babies, they have attachment to their mother. You have seen how they are hanging around. You have seen these monkeys here, and they have their little babies, how they hold on to the mother. They may be playing, any problem comes, immediately they run and catch the mother. So this Mrig, this Bharat, when he was born, and animals, they start walking after actually half an hour, 1 hour, they stand up and then they are walking. Not like human babies who take 9-10 months to stand up. So next day itself he left that place. He didn't want to live in there. So from Kalanjar, where he was born, he came back to the same place where he was, that place of Shalagram, that famous ashram of the sage Pulastya and Pulha, where many great sages were living. In this place was famous Tirtha. Gandaki river is considered as very pious. So Bhagavat Kshetram Upsamasila Muni Ganadaitam, he came there. So Kalanjarat Swajan Bhumir Parvatat Shalagram Akhim Kshetra. So Vishnu Chakrita says that he left the mountain where he was born and came to the land called Shalagram. And what did he do there? So Tasminnapi Kalam Pratikshamana Sangatcha Bhrisham Udvigna Atma Sahachara Sushka Parnatrina Virudha Vartamano Mrigatma Nimitta Avasanam Eva. Ganiyan Mrig Shariram Tirthodipaklinam Sasam. So in the deer body he just waited for his death to come. So usually nobody likes to die, but he was waiting for his death. And he was very careful not to associate with anybody. There was no question of him associating with other animals, but even with any deer, he has nothing to do. He will keep himself aloof. He was living in a cave alone. And he will eat dry leaves, lest he becomes attached to the grass, and then he goes here and there and then he meets some other people. So he will just stay in his cave, and now he could not chant, so he will think of Krishna. He'll come out and eat some dry leaves which have fallen and drink some water from the river Gandaki. So this is how he passed his time. And Mrigatva Nimitta Usanam Eva Ganiyam Vrikshaviram Tirthodipaklinam Sasarya. And then when he realized that now his death is coming, many people they can see that their death is coming. They can predict. So then he went to the river and he stood submerged in the river water and he gave up his body. So there are, as we read earlier, certain places which are considered as auspicious for dying. And especially he was living in this kshetra before he has performed his sadhana there. So everything he will remember how he was sitting and worshipping the shalagram, how the shalagram was there, but now he cannot do anything. So sometimes we see that certain animals, they behave in a way by which you can see that they must have been human beings in the past life. Just recently I was reading an article that in Bihar there is a temple, and every evening when there is a worship in the temple, when there are about 10 or 12 dogs, they all come and stand in front of the deity. And they stand still till the whole ceremony is over, Aarti. And when the Aarti is over, then they go out. Every day. There was a dog, he will not eat on Ekadasi. He will fast. We used to have a dog, I remember, he will not eat anything on Tuesday. And many people they fast for Hanuman on Tuesday. So maybe he was a Hanuman Bhakta in past life. And very peaceful, and I remember he will not mix with any dogs at all. He will always just be on the field outside the village, and he will come in the morning to the house, eat and go back there. And on the way, dogs always come around the park. He will just go. And same, he will come in the evening, eat and go. Very peaceful. So there are some cases like that. So these stories are not just some concoctions, but actually the reality. So he stood in the water and he died because that is also considered as auspicious to die like that in the river. And iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahansayaṃ Samhitayāṃ Pancham Skandhe Bharata Charito Ashtamadhyaya. So this is the end of 8th chapter of 5th canto, describing the story of King Bharat. There is no commentary on this. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti also ends his comment on this chapter. It says, iti Sarartha Darshinyam Darshinyam Bhakta Chetasam Panchamasya Ashtamadhyasa Sangata Sangapasatam. This ends his Sarartha Darshini commentary on the 5th canto 8th chapter by the grace of devotees. So now in the next chapter, there is a description how he was born as a Brahmana boy after giving up the dear body, and in this life also he remained very, very aloof from everybody. He behaved as if he is deaf and dumb, stupid, has no intelligence, so that nobody will bother him. Although he was the most learned person, but he appeared to be dull-headed. So that we will read tomorrow. Is there any question?
If somebody said that if the king was thinking about deer and he died and he became, because he was so attached, he became a deer. But if people before death, they think about God, they don't become a God.
They become devotees of God.
Okay.
They will go to God.
Okay.
Because when they are thinking of God, they are not thinking of becoming God.
No.
So therefore they don't become.
Mm.
Nobody can become God.
Mm. That's what I was thinking.
So they become like God. If they are friend of God, they are devotees of God, they become actually like God.
Mm. But if somebody before death don't think about he's happy because he did a lot of things in the life and he's waiting patient for next life to go further and he's just happy, what happened then?
Then depends what type of karma. Ultimately karma is theirs. So according to karma he will get that.
Now, for example, taking the story in another point, it looks like, okay, he was completely absorbed and now this accident has happened. Because of the will of God, he wants to show something. Right? Because nobody can, because devotion has more power than any type of karma. So then, but still these things has happened because God wants to show something. But you can imagine, even his devotee throwing him in a situation that he has to pass another 3 life before to get back in his original absorption. So,
Yeah, so that he already explained that this was God's special mercy on him to increase his eagerness.
to increase the eagerness, okay.
It was not some kind of punishment, it was also not because of some bad action or anything.
Okay, that's why he was keeping this lamentation inside, not telling to anybody, keeping from himself.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing about this leaving the body, then I heard that whatever, it's just like a movie in front of the eyes of the person who leaves the body, and then at one point, the most prominent samskara stays in the mind, and then is there.
Yeah,
then
that's
the
what I
text-
said, that whatever you are attached to, that's what you think at the time of not.
Yes. Yes. That, what you want to ask? You can also become attached to, I don't know, a service, for example, or place, like, I don't know, Vrindavan. Something like that, which is devotional or is related with devotion, but is not directly. You become attached, you say, oh. These are also kind of attachments.
Yeah, so if you are attached to Krishna, what is the problem with that? It's not not saying that you should not become attached to devotion. He is lamenting that he was attached like that and he became attached to deer.
Because of something we have to become, we have to exercise our powers. Like he was a small deer and he decided deliberately, I will leave my mother because I don't want to become attached with her. Which is also a big thing because there's a natural made by block actually. And then we become attached to it. So we can become also attached in one sense to so many things that we can use in devotion. Also people, the world is
Alright, so we'll stop here.